Thank you so much for staying with us here on Sunrise. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're right in time for Law and Order JA. Yep. Court is now in session. Attorney at law and partner at Duncox, Courtney Bailey, joins us this morning. Now, this morning's question is as follows. My name is Trevor and I run a small business. My team collects information from our customers to help us with marketing. All my competitors do the same. I was recently told that I could get into some trouble for keeping and using that information under a new law that came into effect. Is this true? And how do I avoid any legal issues? Counsel, good morning. Welcome to Sunrise. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Very well, sir. Law and Order JA Court is in session. Courtney, please advise Trevor on his issue.
Right. So I think the act that Trevor is referring to is the Data Protection Act.
Absolutely.
It was passed in 2020, but there was a 2-year transition period, which was further extended by a grace period up to about the end of May.
Yes.
But it is completely in effect as of June 1, 2024. The Act seeks to protect an individual's personal data from misuse by other persons or organizations. And personal data is information relating to an individual. Notice I said individual as a natural person as distinct from a company. And that person either is alive or has not died within the last 30 years. So it gives you about 30 years after death. So the idea is that once that information can identify an individual, either by itself or in conjunction with other information that the person who's using it has, then that is personal data. And the Act seeks to protect that from any kind of misuse.
When you say misuse, Courtney, what do you mean?
Okay. So the Act creates a number of data protection standards. These are basic standards by which information is supposed to be treated. For example, information must only be collected fairly and lawfully.
Yes.
And that means, firstly, you must get it from the individual, and you must get their consent to use it, or you must have some other legal basis to use it. For instance, you're entering into a contract with them, and you need that information to carry out the contract. And there are a number of other standards. For example, you're not to keep it longer than you need it for. You're only to use it for the reason why you collected it, etc.
Intended.
Yes, right. So it really, constitutionally, we have a right to privacy, and the Act seeks to protect our information as something that is not to be used willy-nilly by other persons or improperly.
But somebody might be listening, Courtney, and be like, what, Courtney, what's the big deal? I mean, I gave him my email, I gave him my phone number, and you send it out to some other people. Why is that a problem? Why is that a big deal? And it's just for marketing purposes.
Right. So I think the idea is that we have a right to the control of our information. If I give you my information to do something with it, you don't have a right to use it to do something else. And the Act specifically says that when it comes to direct marketing, you must obtain the consent of an individual to use it. Many of us have had the experience of receiving an email or a phone call or a text. And the first question we have is, but how did you get this number?
Yes.
That's a good question. And under the Act, you have a right to ask the person who sends you that, well, where did you get this? What information you have? And you have a right to tell them to stop using it.
Yes. Talk to me about the penalties associated with those who breach that trust or that duty of care.
So the Act says that if you breach any of its provisions and the data protection standards, it's an offense, liable to, on conviction, to 2 to 7 years imprisonment, fines of millions of dollars, up to about 2 million. And also there is, they can even take 4% of your annualized gross profits.
Wow.
And then you can also be sued by an individual, civil liability, if there's any damage they've suffered for your misuse of their information.
Okay, very well. And for Trevor and his
Yes.
competitors,
Yes.
how would you advise that they should keep customers' information, their personal data, safe and secure to ensure that it does not get in the wrong hands or misused?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd say, if he wants to use the information for direct marketing purposes, there's a way to do so. You have to let the customer know when you take it, that's what you're going to do it for. Only use it to market your goods, and they have to have a right to opt out. If you do that, you should be all right. But beyond that, the Act provides a number of standards that they must ensure in keeping that data, technological standards, and I would say speak to an attorney, consult the Act to ensure that you are keeping with best practices as far as industry is concerned.
Very well. Thank you so much, sir. Well, Trevor, I hope that answers your question, and I hope that you will follow attorney at law Courtney Bailey's advice. All right? Thank you so very much for ventilating the issue. I know it's very new, but a lot of people, it concerns all of us, right? And you don't want to be getting these arbitrary emails, phone calls, and all of that. And you're like, how did you get my number? Why are you calling me? And some of them can be very persistent, and some people can even use it to threaten and to pilfer and to extort as well. So we have to be very careful.
It's a new day.
Yeah, it's a new day. So thank you so much, sir, for sharing. That was Courtney Bailey, partner at Duncox Attorneys at Law. Coming up next, it's Home It with the NHT right here on Sunrise.